I'm Michelle Kirkbride with the Norwest Co-op Community Health Center's Hands Kai program. With me today is Dr. Robin Westmacott from the Department of Clinical Health Psychology with the College of Medicine at the University of Manitoba. We'll be talking about sleep and stress and the impact on our health. Welcome, Dr. Westmacott.
Thank you, Michelle.
Today we're talking about stress and the impact on health. Can you tell me what is stress and why is it important to manage it?
When someone experiences a stressful event, their amygdala, or an emotion center in the brain, sends a signal to the hypothalamus, which is located at the base of the brain. And it operates kind of like a command center, and it sort of sets an alarm bell off to the nervous system. And that, from an evolutionary perspective, it's necessary. That's how we survived being attacked by wild animals, each other, right? This is what happens when you're attacked by a lion. Your body has to get ready to cope with the threat, and it gets ready by executing a series of chemical and hormonal changes in your body before you even really recognize the threat consciously. And normally, the stress response resolves normally, so it resolves naturally and we don't have to worry about it. The body does a really good job of returning back to baseline. So when you see the lion, you might breathe faster, your heart rate increases, hormones will release sugar or glucose in your bloodstream so that your muscles have lots of blood and energy to run, right, or to fight. And then another part of your nervous system will kick in to sort of reduce those body responses and bring you back to normal, as sort of a normal, relaxed state. The problem with modern life is that although we don't have lions and tigers we're running from, we do have traffic jams, we do have 30-year mortgages, we have relationship conflict, we have financial problems to consider, and our bodies haven't really adapted to discerning whether or not those are lions and tigers. So although we might not experience a huge leap in adrenaline, we might not experience a huge wave of stress where we can run, we experience that as just as much of a threat on sort of a lower level that might occur chronically.
Can you maybe talk a little bit more about how that can actually impact us and why it's so much more important to manage it?
Researchers have shown that chronic stress, or stress that goes unchecked or unmanaged and lasts a really long time, usually has negative impacts on our body. That means that different body systems can be slightly or majorly compromised. So, for example, our immune system might not be as strong. We might get colds or flus more easily. In terms of the cardiovascular system, stress has documented effects on it. Our blood pressure might remain unchecked. The gastrointestinal system, there are digestive processes that are affected by stress. So various body systems can be negatively impacted by long-term stress, not so much short-term stress.
So what happens when stress impacts our sleep?
People experiencing an acute stressor, like an exam or a romantic breakup or a stressful work deadline, often find that their sleep latency is decreased. So it takes a longer time to fall asleep. It might be more difficult to stay asleep, or they might find themselves waking up earlier. It's kind of like there's a bit of a motor running in the body, and it might be more difficult to bring the body's arousal level down and keep it down to stay asleep.
So we hear a lot from people that stress often impacts their sleep. What tips do you have to help them manage their sleep then?
During a time of acute stress, so when that exam comes up, or when there's a work deadline, or there's a relationship difficulty in our lives, I would recommend putting less pressure on ourselves to sleep. So people often will try to bank sleep, or they'll try to go to bed early so they can prepare for the exam, but really it's very difficult for your body to sleep when it's not ready to sleep. So I would actually suggest going to bed an hour later, the night before a difficult exam, because then you're more likely to fall asleep in a reasonable amount of time and not lay awake ruminating about, well, I might not sleep and maybe that will harm my exam performance, and then that people find themselves in a vicious cycle where they can't calm down.
So what would you say are the important things to consider when trying to manage your stress?
The research shows that the two things that really emerge from the research literature in terms of managing chronic stress are managing exercise and relationships. General recommendations are that people incorporate a moderate amount of exercise into their day, preferably every day, but really as much as you can. And if you are starting at a low level, it's probably best to start small and gradually increase the level of exercise that you do. But just doing a small amount, I'm talking about 30 minutes of moderate exercise per day, has a huge impact on stress. The most powerful or the most important thing that you can do to moderate the impact of stress on your body is actually to connect with loved ones. The research shows that even more than exercising, it's really, really important to feel safe and connected with someone you love, or a few people you love. So if there's something awry or something going wrong in a relationship that's key in your life, it's really important to take a look at that and to try to strengthen the relationships that you do have.
So what we hear a lot from caregivers, whether that's a parent, someone taking care of an elderly parent, or a friend, is that they often feel guilty making time for themselves. Is that something that they should let go of? If you could say one thing to them, what would it be?
I guess that makes me think of the cliched analogy of using your own oxygen mask on an airplane before you help a child or before you help someone else. It's sort of like, how can you help someone else when you can't breathe? You know, how can you help someone else when you're feeling really weak yourself?
Thank you, Dr. Westmacott, for sharing your insights on sleep and stress today. I know I've learned a lot, and I know our HANDS members will too.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, and I hope you've enjoyed watching. For more information, visit the Norwest Co-op website at www.norwestcoop.ca.